Hey guys, I'm here with Candace Carl Goldman, founder of Beyond Quantum Healing. So exciting. And as usual, Dolores has thrown us a curveball.
Is that you or me?
Turn off my phone in case it's me. I really don't know. You're muted. We're having an interesting time. So we decided to go live and talk about it, except Candace is muted. Let me see if I can. How did you do that? How did you mute yourself? Did you click it on your microphone thingy? Okay. Just bear with us for people who are joining. We're just really trying to get through our technology curveballs. I'm going to what's this? I don't think there's anything I can do to release. Someone's going to knock on the door right now. I'm not answering. Can you exit and re-enter? Is that possible? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go back to Crowdcast right now. I can't right now. Okay. Bear with me, guys. I'm just working through these challenges, and there's someone at my door. It's like we're having all these struggles today with just getting online. I've got to sign into my Crowdcast account just so that she can get back in. Okay. Okay. I'll be right back because I want to know who's talking at my door to my children because I'm not expecting anyone, and Candace should be back soon. Hey, what's going on? It's on Tuesday. Okay, is Candace back yet, guys? At all? Oh, she isn't. I'm gonna turn my phone back on. We had the door ring, the microphone crash. Okay, I have to let you back in. Okay, that's right. Invite Candace on screen. Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. Let's see how this is working.
Now, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
That was weird.
Okay, let me reset my Crowdcast again. All right, there we go.
Thanks, Sandra.
So we just decided to come in because this is what happens when Candace and I get together. Wild things happen with her, with Dee. So what happened with Dee is that basically over the course of the weekend, I know that Candace was probably like really catching up on some of the stuff with the Essenes and things of that nature. I could feel that because you made a quote about it on one of your social medias. I was like, oh, you're reading the book. Well, she guided me towards the book anyway. And I only got like 3 pages in before she was like, oh, you know all this. The reason why I was guiding you is because there's this one guy in the book. His name is Benjamin, but it's not said like that. So you just need to read about Benjamin just for a little while, just so that you understand and remember a certain technology. And if you just read this one portion of this regression, you'll remember this technology. So I did, and I wrote the technology down, and I will be discussing it soon. But aside from all of that, yeah, something else happened. We've both been getting these synchronicities that she needs to regress me, that Candace needs to regress me. Now, Candace has never regressed me, and we're here for a dual channeling today. So what we're doing right now is talking about it amongst ourselves in front of you authentically, because we're both surprised.
All right. So let me start by telling you that if you read anything at all in these books, you read more than I, or refreshed yourself more than I did. I have been so busy, so overwhelmed with tasks.
3 pages. That's all she would let me get through. And then she told me I'd be biased otherwise.
I got through the preface, which is where that quote came from. And I actually wanted to read it. And my life is, as many people's are at this time during all the stuff that's going on out there, is really upside down. A lot of what's going on with me has to do with my dad. And I just didn't get to it. However, so much did go on. And there's so many synchronicities. And I'd like to share that one anyway.
Yeah.
So that people understand some of what is going on. So what I did do on Saturday was I did a webinar with someone named Darren Owens. Darren was regressed by Dolores. I can't remember if it's 2011, 13, 12, one of those years, right around in there somewhere. I should commit it to memory, but I have not. And we, a year ago, started talking about this regression that he had with her that I witnessed, where he was a page in Queen Elizabeth I's court. It's a really interesting regression. We did part 1 of that last year, and we'd been trying a number of times to get to part 2 and keep going. And it had been almost a year before we were able to set it up again. As we're getting ready to set this up, and it's hours before the session, I'm in my own studio, and I'm hearing Dolores just in my head. I'm in my studio office, and she's like, go get my Jesus books. Now, I have a number of extra copies of Dolores's books around because I do. The ones that, my first editions are the ones that have her name in them, I have at home. And the extra ones that people can purchase if they want, I still have at my office. And she was telling me to bring some of those Jesus books home. And I'm like, why? Why? I've got copies at home. And she was like, no, she's like, go get those. I got out of my car and I think, I'd already locked the door. And she was like, go back in and get those books. And I did. And the really interesting part was I had accidentally left the signed versions of these books in the studio where I thought these were at home, and I was backwards. And she was told me to go in and get them. And I didn't even know why, right? I really didn't know why I needed those. Except for, of course, I knew we were going to do this, but we'd known that for a while. But it turns out that this is how Darren and Dolores connected, was through this material. He is a minister, and so much about all of this. And I'm asking her, well, okay, that's all well and good, but why this one? And she made a big deal about this one being in her hands and the connection, and how when you've connected with her energy, and that this, even having like this in my hand, is more of a connection to her energy than an unsigned book. Right. So she made sure I had this book with me when I did that thing on Saturday. And then some other things like that were going on. And then this whole morning, she was saying to me exactly what you asked me, which was, would you like to speak for Dolores in some of what we're doing today? And I basically just said, oh my God, I was hearing her whisper that to me, but I didn't know that I would even say it to Pamela out loud. And here I am saying it to all these people who are here. So we were talking about it. Pamela, please begin to tell the people out there some of my questions and what our concerns are, or mostly my concerns about how that would work if I were to do that.
Well, let's just give people some background on that. It's not just BQH for you. BQH is powerful and wonderful, but she talks to you daily. Oh, we can call it channeling, we can call it listening, we can call it what it is, but it is very accurate messages. And it has been proven throughout the course of how many years have I known you now, that she'll tell you something and me at the same time, you know, and it's not something that you've even told anybody else, or if you did, it wouldn't be somebody I even know.
Yeah.
You know, nothing you have time to post on social media, no explanation for these things. She wakes us up in the middle of the night. Like, our connection to Dee is phenomenal. And then our connection to each other got stronger over time, not just because of this, but because of just the immense stuff that we're learning and feeling as we help people, you know, through things in these very hard times. So what I observed is your messages that she channels through you. You can call it what you will. And she can call it, you're listening to me, and we can call it channeling, and you can call it a conversation, as you often did before you were afraid to say the word channeling.
Tomato.
Yeah. And then I think one of your concerns, if we were going to do that, you're going to regress me and put me in a trance, and we're going to go back and see what comes up in my lives. And see how Yeshua wants to come through. He may come through in whatever way he chooses, but he always does. That's something you can rest assured will happen. But the way that she talks to you is like during regressions and during your day and when you're working with clients, and she pops in at will, which means that if you guys ask a specific question related to something that Candace doesn't know about, that's going to probably make her more than a little nervous, because we don't exchange information. We don't have journals in the background. Like, we barely have time to talk to each other.
Right. Like I was telling Pamela, even the last time we did this, the different sort of roles and everything, if you were to quiz me on them right now, I'm not sure I would pass the quiz. My brain doesn't hold that kind of information. You're far more specific about some of this stuff. And that was my concern, which is any sort of disconnect. And Pamela actually says, why don't we ask what everyone might think of that? If, you know, any sort of disconnect, if I were to say, well, I think Dolores is saying this, or I'm hearing Dolores say this or ask this, and it doesn't match something that you all have heard Pamela say. I mean, how does that play out, and even in your minds? I'm still working out how it plays out in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. In other words, we need your interaction in chat right now.
Yeah.
A lot of it. Because otherwise, what we're going to do, if we aren't comfortable with what's going on, we're just going to do a standard channeling, and she and I will do this on another day.
Yeah.
Or another thing we could do is just do this a little bit. And then if she feels uncomfortable, she can pull me out. We discussed that she could pull me out of the regression, out of the trance. And then we can just go into a channeling where she's the facilitator and Dolores pops in. She was popping in the last channeling.
I can hear her just laughing like crazy right now. She's like, what are you so worried about?
Yeah, you're making a big deal is what she
know I am. And you know why? And I'll tell you why, and I'll tell everyone else who's listening. It's because of how much I love you both. That's all. If I didn't care about either one of you as much as I do, this would be far easier. It's because I adore both of you.
Yeah. Well, it would also be a chance to let them see a little bit how BQH works, because the way that you put people into regression is just it's you. It's your work. It's good.
I wasn't ready for any of this at all. Any of this.
You weren't ready for the last channeling either. And she did this. She did this stuff last time too.
Yeah,
she's like, and we're going to talk about this and we're going to do that. And Candace and I were like, okay. They're all saying yes. And what we're doing is just mulling through, because we learned this information, an hour and a half ago, and we haven't even had time to talk about it until just now, literally 10 minutes before.
I know. So here's an example. While we've been doing this, first of all, I'm hearing some chiding from her. And the next thing I actually heard from her was, my best channeling hearing of Dolores is through personal experiences, dreams, personal interactions, personal stuff. Pamela's is far more universal, I think, often in some cosmic things. Mine tends to be thematic and more personal and as a story that might match for others. But I think she was saying this to me about, I had an experience, actually two very powerful ones with Yeshua. One as a small child and then one as a young mother. And she actually says, why not just ask him about those experiences? And as soon as she said that, I went, well, that's easy. See, that's easy for me. Of course, that's me. And we're here to take people's questions. And of course, we'll do that. But maybe we could, if we started in a way where he has a statement maybe, and or I got comfortable with the conversation, maybe we could keep going like that. Yeah, no, Kayla says, I can hear her saying, get on with it. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm hearing her say too. Candace, you're talking too much.
Here I am, forever putting you on the spot. I love you so much.
I love you so much too. Well, if we do this, it certainly won't be a standard BQH thing. You don't need anything anyway. You just need a couple of breaths. There will be no BQH induction here. There's no need for it at all. You don't need that. But I am interested in doing the 3 and then 4-way connection, and see where it goes. If everybody is, good with the idea that we're experimenting here.
Well, I think I should start out by sharing this really important technology that I'm getting, because I feel like you're going to understand it. And that's what she's saying. She's telling me to share it with you. Every channeling experience I've had with you makes me cry, and I get all like real personal and everything. So she told me you would know, because we've been talking about going through diamonds and triangles and things, and that's coming up again. For those of you who need background about that, we're not going to go too deeply into that story for both of our schedules today, but you can look at Candace's YouTube channel for our discussion of that and to hear about our very personal experience at a retreat last October, where we did a tandem regression. And she came through and she was sharing a lot about that. And then she continued to share more about energies coming through. And, I'm a mystery school teacher, so I believe the kingdoms of God are within. So the more I teach these technologies to people, which come from the Essenes anyway, the more interested she got in talking about it, especially this past week with me. She said, everything that you're doing comes from the Essenes. Talk about it. Everything that you're doing with, this is something that I do that we've been talking about, because it came up in that tandem regression, the Melchizedek technologies that I teach, called the Melchizedek hand. She said they come from what Jesus calls the Qumran. So the Qumran Essenes are the original ancient Essenes. She said what we did together, Candace, in that journey together, was an ancient Essene technology. And you see how all the powerful information that came about that we've discussed since then. And this is a build on that. So we were talking about letting your body be a sacred temple, You understand that your body is a sacred temple. Everybody that came through in any information, the Essenes would say that the body is a sacred temple and that they had sacred temples. So they worshiped in a unique way that wasn't a religion. It was more of a school of thought, is what she always told me that they said whenever she would, when she did her work with this one woman. And they would create this sacred triangle at the base of the spine with a visualization and breathe within it, is what she said. They had to breathe through the triangle. And the practitioner had to match the breath of the client. Okay.
Now that's BQH.
All right. So that's BQH. All right. So breathing and matching and reflecting, mirroring the breath of the client, merging with the client. The Essenes actually merged. They were already doing BQH. Just by visualizing that triangle superimposed between them, between client and practitioner, except they just didn't call it that. It was just different languages and technologies. So if you can imagine that you're both breathing through that triangle, both of you, in the triangle, out the triangle, in the triangle, out the triangle, and it's between you, wherever you are in your proximity, and it starts at the base of the spine, and then it is guided with breath and where that triangle moves.
So about a year before I told anyone, I started seeing Dolores in my sessions, often just in my mind's eye, come and stand. For me, she stood at the head of, typically people's healers, healing team would surround them. She would stand behind them and she would make that symbol. And I actually asked in our community, our quantum healers community, I was very cryptic about it. I keep seeing Dolores. She's doing a certain thing in every one of my sessions. Does anybody see her do anything? Is anybody seeing her make a certain, and I didn't get much, if any, response. And it wasn't until our tandem session that we both then figured that out. But she, and ever since then, the diamond light thing has been happening. She, though, was using it not at the base of the spine by my clients, but at the head, at the crown, that let some of the light come through. Mm-hmm. There's some really interesting questions to ask about the chakra centers and the energy points and what the Essenes, how they felt about that compared to how modern day people think about it. So that will be interesting to go to and ask the questions. And I'd like to see where this goes.
So let me show you something
from
one of my older Kabbalah books.
I'm getting more comfortable with the idea.
So this is one of my older Kabbalah books that I like a lot, just for beginning people who really are just starting. It's a really good one. And it's one of the ones that my teacher gave to me. So you notice how that little light there goes into a triangle the more it goes out? Just look at that for a minute. The Essenes knew that before any modern day mystery school teacher could teach that to the world.
And is that considered then if that's the system, is that true? Like, that symbol is.
That symbol is universal. So it can start at the head or the spine, depending upon where the client is and and then all of the triangle then moves here. It can move here. It can move here. It can move here, 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 here. All of these are kingdoms of God that the Essenes knew that when you guide that sacred shape around that area of the body, you would both breathe into it together and you would both have access to the Akash individually, simultaneously. It was exciting. Like at the same time, client and practitioner were automatically in it. They were in the Akash together.
So fascinating.
And that's what she's been showing me. And what he said about it is as follows. I wrote it down in my little journal for the technology. He said, this comes from the Essenes of Qumran. So that's spelled Qumran. He said, these are ancient Qumran mystery technologies. Create the sacred temple of the triangle at the base of the spine or above the head and breathe into it together, merging breath. Move the triangle to the right or left as guided. As it moves up or down throughout the pillars of the kingdom of God, now these are the pillars, the left, the middle, the right, okay? As it moves up and down the kingdoms of God in the body, follow the pattern of what you call the tree of life, stopping for activation from the sun as you breathe. I know she's been talking to you about that because all week long I've been getting that. Sun was a direct activation used daily to help Essenes retrieve the soul's memories.
Look how that it matches what's going on today when we're told to stay inside, away from the sun.
I don't. And then I asked her about more because I knew you would ask about, we've been both asking what this is. And she said that represents the temple of, and she wrote it out, Elohim. And Yeshua said, you know, Elohim, everything I've been teaching you since you were a little girl. So
amazing.
That's the temple that all the Essenes did their healing in, the temple of Elohim.
Elohim.
Yeah, or also spelled Elohim, which are all the beings that I channel.
Right.
So this is the connection to your process and the beings that I channel. And that is the technology that is most important. But every time you move that sacred shape, that triangle, that diamond through a kingdom of the God, you know, in your body, you're going to go through, you can use your invocations. This is what alchemy teachers say, invocations, and regressionists will say something else, but you can use your inductions, you know, then you can use your guidance. You can induce someone automatically from that space within that triangle and follow those breathing techniques and let the sun activate. So the sun, that doesn't mean you have to be out in it, but the Essenes were.
Sure.
Like their temples had open places at the top of them where the sun shined through.
Sure. And that's very much BQH too, bringing light through the crown in that way, and especially the diamond light.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So shall we see where this takes us? I mean, I'm excited. I'm nervous as hell. And anyone who knows me knows I don't get nervous. I'm not doing stuff.
She just said that you and her wanted a conversation with Yeshua and that I needed to be regressed or in trance, which I wasn't expecting. Remember, I told you I was going to be wide awake the whole time.
I know. See, I'm still working out these details. Oh gosh, I feel a little muddled. Well, I'm just going to pretend all you kind people out there who are watching just aren't there.
We've been following your work for years.
We'll just
years.
It's about the only way I can manage to do this is if thinking nobody's really paying any attention to what we're doing, or we're just experimenting. So with that in mind, let's do it. Do you want to take a quick break before we go, or
do you need to?
Maybe, you know, like a racehorse, it's always a good thing.
Okay.
If you hold on just a moment.
Yep. We were so surprised. We're sorry that we're throwing you guys off track, but this is a surprise to us as well. How are all of you doing right now? Going with the flow. Hey, Julie. Exhausted? Tell me more about that. Oh.
All right.
So I'm just going to go into trance, and you can ask questions, and I have a feeling that she's going to know what to say.
All right.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
These two want to talk. I don't know.
All right, here we go. So just take a couple deep breaths and go to the place that you so naturally and easily go. Feeling yourself connect with the energy of Yeshua. Let us know when the connection is fully made and you are ready to speak.
I am ready to be as you, with you, for you, one, with you, forever.
So, just to acknowledge that your energy is coursing through me, the facilitator, right now, I believe quite strongly. Again, another huge surprise for me. I feel as big as my house right now with your energy. I also feel that perhaps some in our listening audience are connecting very strongly to your energy as well. Would that be true?
Time cannot separate what has always been within the full essence of the Christed consciousness. Our beings are one. I am the one that you have called Yeshua. I am the one that you have called by many names, represented throughout time and beyond.
Do you have a statement for us before we begin an exchange of information or asking questions?
Things are not as they seem, beloveds. Do not connect with what you see in this chaos as truth. Admit that you know nothing. Release into the power of the unknown, into the love of all that is. Return to the essence of peace.
Thank you so much. Yeshua, First of all, would you say your name again the way you said it? It was slightly pronounced different than perhaps I've heard it before.
There are no letters that can be recognized in the language of the ancient Aramaic systems. Y does not exist. J is not effectively pronounced. Therefore, it would be pronounced with an I in your languages. It would be Yeshua.
Yeshua. Thank you.
It could also be Isha or Isa.
I've heard that before. Thank you so much. I'd like to ask a question for me and maybe for Pamela too. Before we begin to take the questions of those gathered here, what would you like to say to Pamela about your specific connection with her, particularly how it began or the communication you had when she was much younger?
I always find my beloved and they always find me. We always attempt communication throughout this structure that you call time. We always attempt to communicate through the methodology of the channel, through all of our Magdalene family. We find each other again and again and again. Language cannot thwart. Language can hold no barrier. I do not speak through the mind of this channel at this time. She may or may not comprehend the language through which I speak through her mind, and may or may not remember these communications in what you call future. But we all recognize the love, the essence of spirit within each other that is captured and carried through the nature of recollection, of memory, which is what you all love so dearly. And remember, that is why we are here, through the essence of the being that this channel would like to call D today. These memories are within time and beyond them. These memories and connections are shared by everyone here today to no greater or lesser degree.
Thank you. Yeshua, when Dee was doing her work with, I think her name was Katie, that brought us the book, Jesus and the Essenes. Even though she was connected to, I think, a future Essene student, were you aware of those communications? Was your energy present during them? And how did they affect the regressions and the information that came forth in this book and in other places?
The being who was within the technology that you call regression today was purely discussing a methodology that was known throughout her unique experience as one of my brothers called Binzamari. Binzamari is another name for Benjamin. And you notice the structure and the purity of the Aramaic language when not spoken through the mind of the channel, but through the essence of the DNA that is transferred throughout time, through the life records of each and every individual. This unique individual, that you may call Katie for her privacy references, had indeed been brought through the memory time frames of the Magdalene, and the Magdalene will always find the Christed ones. The Magdalene have shared many stories and memories of the Essenes, and they have carried these stories through their lineage down through time. They may or may not remember, but these technologies will help you regress more deeply so that you shall remember. And this unique channel had unique memory capsules that could travel beyond time. She was immediately, as the being that you call D would stay, somnambulistic, which made for an easier connection. The essence of what you call Pamela would call this channeling, which makes for the same connection. It's the same technology. And of course, because of the many, many bloodlines carried through, the many genomic captures of this bloodline, these ancient keys of knowledge are passed down purely.
I'm going to begin to ask the questions that our friends who are assembled to watch this communication have brought to us. Naomi would like to ask, which modern day culture or spiritual tradition are the Essenes and their teachings most similar to?
Then that would be what you would most call mystery school. And that would be what you would most call ancient alchemy technologies.
And there's a lot of those out there, a lot of variety, a lot of variation. We were speaking earlier about different versions, different perspectives on similar ideas and technologies. Do you have anything to say about that? About how sometimes they don't always line up?
The true nature of the mysteries within all of the Christ conscious brotherhood in the Essene is that there was a sacred structure that was always honored. No unclean eating mannerisms, quiet silence of meditation, the sacred nature of the family and the body as the temple, the technologies of merging breath between, I suppose what one would call at the time of the Essenes, the teacher, the master, not always the rabbi, but the teacher or the master, the priest or priesthood holder would initiate many beings, many students into adepts. But all adepts know naturally that there's a sacred structure that must be honored with the breath, with the building of the sacred temple, if even by visualization. And the moment the breath is lost, you, in what you call the role of practitioner, would envision this as a disconnect from what you would call a client. Do you understand? These techniques must be honored, no matter the modern nature of the practice. We hold some language barriers today.
I'm really sensing Dolores wanting to talk about what Pamela was talking about before we got started today, and the sacred shape of the triangle. The sacred shape of the triangle as connected even to the ancient Egyptian pyramids. That question seems to come directly from Dolores to ask Yeshua's perspective on that and what he could say to those listening about those connections. The diamond, the triangle, the pyramids, the technology.
If you could imagine that the rocks in what you call pyramids in those times were alive. They were alive, beloveds, with energies from beyond what you call time and the ancient technologies of all of the Christed masters, all of what you call gods would come through. We called them the ancient Elohim. And they were alive genetically within the ancient stones of these times. And if you could imagine that any simple sacred invocation, or what in your language you would call induction, would enliven these stones, can you imagine the love that would light them through and the breath that then would connect the stones to each other? You would think that this would be an immense feat for a human, but it is not. These are simple. These miracles are simple. These miracles are life from all of the Essenes that speak through I, Yeshua, today. And we all had access to these ancient rites of passage for the initiate in the sacred temple until initiate becomes adept, and an adept becomes initiate again. And you see these cycles of innocence relaying through the technology that perhaps this channel has called grace. But if you simply visualize this, these technologies cannot be used for ill will. They cannot be used for what you call negative chaos. They cannot be used for destruction, much as used were in my time. Within the Essenes' knowledge, the Essenes were terrified, very fearful of these knowledges falling into the wrong hands, and inevitably, for a brief time, they did, until they were protected again. And now they return. They return through you. They return through the being that is conversing with me today through you. They return through this channel and many. The channeling is the connection for everything. We did not use these words at this time, but there was a sacred link, a sacred bond always. We called it the merge. Or at times, we would connect through the kingdom of God in difficult moments. And the kingdom was the Jabara. And within the nature of the Qumran, Essenes, we recognize this kingdom of God to be the absolute power within all that is recognizable of love. Do not forget. Do not forget this information. Do not forget the ancient mysteries.
Thank you so much. Sarah asks about the healing potential of the Essene work and how it might connect with art.
As the eternal spring that ran through the ancient temple, that fertilized our crops and our lands, it is also endless. It is also the Ein Sof, the endlessness nature of infinity. The light does not end. It never began. The healing potential is the connection to the breath and the remembrance of wholeness. You must have the technology of faith to even believe that wholeness is possible. Why did you believe that I could lay on hands? It's not a miracle.
Mary Ellen asks, for this timeline, what is the most important aspects of living from the Essenes that we can use and teach others who want to learn?
The most important aspect is the technology of grace that provides pure accessibility to innocence. This is the removal of this massive severity. The consciousness of severity is that of judgment, and the consciousness of judgment is that of battle and war and death. I do mean the severity in my tone, but also I do mean for the recollection of the love within forgiveness of such judgments from the beginning of my time and throughout every portion of time that we can recollect today. Just forgive the severity of the judgments, the wars, the rumors of such wars are infiltrating your minds, causing the technology of the Jevera to become such a vice of misunderstanding, of destruction, of chaos upon the soils, until all peoples and all soils will fight each other if it does not stop now. The biggest technology is to forgive these judgments. The biggest technology is to learn to see innocence and to unlearn all that caused your conditioning of judgment from now and forever, throughout all times. All timelines are merging now, forever. Do you not see how powerful this is? How powerful these times?
How do we help others who find it difficult to make that leap when they are so filled with fear?
The love is you must start where you are. You must start where you are, not elsewhere where you are not. Do not focus your minds on the pains and sufferings, the tragedies, on what has been done. Even what has been done yesterday, you must forgive. What has been done last week, you must forgive. You must focus on now. You must start where you are. And if you are stuck in this time capsule of past, you must forgive that. You must forgive the aggressor until you no longer feel the victim. You must forgive those who cannot be strong, who cannot be other than victim. Do you realize the ties that must be connected through all lands, all races, all cultures? I am here with you now, stronger than I have ever been before, through this channel uniquely. Do you not hear me now? Then you will not hear me ever. Be the love that you are. Start there. Does it take me coming down in form again to beg of you? The love is enough. My love is enough. Feel this now. Know this now. Remember this now and always. You cannot go into this insanity. You are all humans. You are all humanities. Your blood is all red. Not white, not black. It is all.
It's a very powerful message. Thank you. And in that same vein, connecting to the current unrest on our planet, do you have any specific message for Black people at this time, people of color?
Hold this compassion in your hands. Hold the power of forgiveness in your hands. You are a powerful people. Do you think I was white? What is it for the nature of remembrance? Again, I recollect the times being held as slave. I recollect the times calling out to my Father to forgive them, for they know not what they do. I recollect the times of feeling the enslavement of all races and of your race when it began and how it continues. I urge that compassion and forgiveness be your power. I cannot tell you to be peaceful, and I cannot tell you to be at war. I can tell you to be where you are. I can tell you that your voices need to be heard. I can tell you that all of you are important on this planet. I can tell you that you are in your strongest power now, more so than ever before. Are you choosing to remember this now with me? I am not black, I am not white. I am of mixed race always. Do you forget this? The mix of all race, the mix of all time, the mix of all culture. My skin was dark, and my skin was dark to the extent that it was not just rejected and beaten and slammed to the ground and stoned and hurt and mutilated by white. And what did I have to do? I have to forgive. Many know not what they do. This does not mean that I lay down my sword. This does not mean that I lay down my shield. This does not mean that I am powerless. This does not make me slave. This makes me love. Do you feel this now? You will fight until you are exhausted. You will love until you're exhausted. I urge compassion because that is the energy that is boundless and infinite and holds no level of exhaustion. So, speak. Do not let your voice be a whisper. Cry. Let us hold your tears. Fight? I recommend not. This is not the time. You just repeat the history. The time is to love. The time is to unite, to do something different, not to be slave, not to be slave master. The time is for the swinging imbalance of the light in the middle of all fighting or passive giving up. Pieces can only be portrayed. Peace can only be portrayed, not through passivity or through fighting. I urge you find another way. The way must begin with forgiveness. This does not mean to stifle your voices. This does not mean to lay down your defenses. This does not mean to be treated unfairly. The systems that have contained your culture, our cultures, throughout years, throughout thousands of years now, are falling. Are you not happy? You see it. It's falling. And it will continue to fall. But when will it be enough before you turn and you become like those who are aggressors to you? Do not allow this to happen. I beg. I plead. I fall with compassionate mercy on my knees and I beg. Do not repeat the cycle. It could easily shift in the other direction to where you are the aggressors. And all the other races are the victims. You just not make you happy either. You know that forgiveness must be. You just do not know how. Start where you are. The anger is justified. The anger is valid. And now what you do? Now what do you do?
The next question comes straight from Dolores, who would like for you to tell our listeners what the playing out of the energies and the storylines and the timelines on Earth right now, what effect does that have on our star brothers and sisters, on the cosmos and universe and other worlds? What, if anything, that we're going through is affecting them?
Because of the laws of connection in all universes, not just this one, but all, you are at a time of power, the powerful choice to choose this love of all beings is upon you now. If you do not choose it now, you are not slaves to each other, but you are slaves to traps of the governments, straight from the recollection of the time of King Herod. Do you want that again? You do not want that again. And would it matter now that the kings are in high government officials? They fall, and they fall fast. They fall now. And it affects all brethren, all beloved beings throughout all of the cosmos. Because of the cosmetological law, and this is a difficult language for this channel, the cosmic law of the universe. It affects in cosmic technologies, microscopic and macroscopic, so that now there's no more victim. Therefore, all of the freed beings, your brethren, your sisters and brothers in the star systems are free also, or they are trapped also. It has not happened yet. This is why I speak so powerfully to you today. Because it could happen in a moment. You are on a swinging pendulum. You're swinging towards the entrapped, enslaved victim on one hand, and then the very next day you swing it towards aggressor and king with too much power, just like Herod. Throughout all of the star systems, there's not dark or light. There is love that is in service to self, or love that is in service to all. It is not us or them. When we, your brethren from the cosmos, look upon you, we are looking through your eyes, feeling your pain through your bodies. We are now becoming embodied. And of course, your choices affect us. Please choose wisely. We love you. We are you. If you enslave you, you enslave us. If you free you, you free us. It cannot be otherwise.
Thank you. The next question has to do with healing the mind and the role of polarities. Can you help us to better understand loving polar opposites and this role in healing?
Let's say the polar opposite that you describe in these words could be fashioned with the metaphor of the ancient coin. So, on one side of such coin is this forgiveness, this compassion. This other side of the coin, on just the very other side, is the hatred, the bitter chaos, and the resentment. So, for those of you who love, Can you look at the other side? Do you go to riots today, and can you stand in forgiveness, but not join hate? Can you show love and peace, but not become war or violence? You can do this. And those of you who are feeling the hate, feeling the resentment, feeling that you are slaves, that you are stuck in a system that is not entitled, as you call it, you are acting upon former memory and replaying the same scene as much of the first slaves on this planet. Will you choose to replay? To fight until you're imprisoned again? Until your governments capture you because of the fighting and the war? Or will you stand with those at peace and stand in silence? And if you feel that this could cause you to lose power, then forgive that thought. This is not religion. This is not miracle technologies. This is the love that must be, so that people no longer see one side, other side. They no longer see anything. All the currency is love. This is a radical, radical, radical unity. To understand, this is radical acceptance. This is radical forgiveness. This is radical compassion. And this is the full essence of unity. For you to stand amongst your brethren, no matter if they're angry, no matter if they're war, and be peace, be love, be compassion, and do not join the hate, the war. Can you, those who riot, those who feel enslaved, those who feel with all the due rights this way? It is very appropriate in these times to feel this way. So will you stand with those who are silent, peaceful, quiet, not protesting, not joining your beliefs? Notice I did not ask, do you join this color or that color? Notice I did not ask about religion. I did not ask about culture or status. I ask you to stand side by side with each other and to accept the other until there is no other. Somebody's waking me up. Who's waking me up? What's going on? Why am I awake? You're on mute.
Yes, I am. I was in trance just talking.
Well, I've got to go with the flow. If I'm awake, I must be awake for a reason.
Forgive me.
Why am I crying?
That was brilliant because you were so deeply in compassion, forgiveness, and love, and broadcasting that so incredibly beautifully. You were so deep and in so much grace and forgiveness for even the angry, fearful ones. It was very powerful.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I'm crying hardcore. Why am I crying?
I'm sorry, everyone.
That's okay. What do you guys want to do? Dang, I need some tissue. That's what I need to do. Oh my gosh, mascara everywhere.
So we're learning here, and actually, as I was talking and nobody was hearing anything, I too was in trance, and I was channeling Dolores.
She woke me up. I could see her. I could see her going, "Get up, get up, get up."
I was actually fully stepping into Dolores and talking to Yeshua while on mute. Okay, what message do I take from that? Oh, well, do that another time. Take that another
There
time.
she goes. I heard that too.
Like, yeah, just it's not going to make any. I know. I'm actually. So she's giving me a picture right now. You know, when she first started doing this work, she carried around a giant reel-to-reel tape recorder. And I got a picture of the reel and the tape going boing and breaking.
I felt that energy. She's like, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." I'm like, "What? What? Who am I? Where am I? What?"
I've been so I was so chagrined about my microphone problems, not only last time we did this, but earlier when all of that was going on. I was staying quiet, and yeah, so forgive me. She was actually, so if you want to see if you want to continue with trans channeling or how that might come for you now, the question I was trying to ask was one from Grace. And forgive me all too. I'm far more used to Zoom than I am Crowdcast. Who asked if you could add a short chapter to your Jesus material from your perspective now, what would you talk about? So what I felt myself stepping into Dolores's energy and beginning to speak about was after her transition out of body and the impetus to connect with the Christ consciousness from that perspective. So I got the bigger sense of that, and then was going to ask Yeshua to speak about that, like meeting and connection after Dolores's passing, after her resting, and then after her reaching out to connect with the Christ consciousness after transition. Do you have a sense of that?
Me or him?
I'd love to hear both, and you know, and then wrap it around and get back to if you could to Grace's question, if you could add a short chapter to your Jesus material from your perspective now, what would you talk about?
Well, I'm still so out of it that I'm like, which one of them am I channeling right now? So you mean Jesus material? You mean her?
Yeah, the question was, is what is Dee's perspective now?
Okay. She said, he brought me on a fascinating journey. And the journey overlapped time. He had me look at memory in a way that in my Jesus material, I didn't care if people remembered. It was not possible whether they remembered something or not. And what if they remember it for a unique reason now? If I could add a new chapter about memory as it works now from what he has taught now, that would be fascinating. Because I didn't think of it in that way then. I didn't think of memory as real relevant to tap into, because what would come would come. But you can guide people. I would guide people through timelines often and count them into it. But memory just wasn't spoken of in that. I didn't speak of it in that same way.
Interesting. Well, there are plenty of questions listed here. Would you like to go through them, or would you like to speak about just what that was like for you? Your accent, your diction was unlike anything I've heard come from you before. It was really very specific and very unique.
So I don't know what you're talking about right now.
I know. The deeper you got, the more your voice changed and your speech patterns changed. And it was fascinating. It was amazing, actually. And the more you went there, the deeper I would go. I couldn't help but be swept up in your, in now I'm hearing Dolores too. She's like, this is part of why we were doing this, because anybody else who felt that, including me, feeling that, we were connecting with the Christ consciousness energy in a new and deeper way to be able to actually put into practice some of what he was suggesting.
Probably what happened, from what she's expressing to me now, she said he was not through my mind. So if he's through my mind, you get the Pamela loving accent. Everything's love.
Yeah.
Well,
he actually even said that. He said, it's not coming through your mind. It's not.
Yeah. So then if you get a being coming very deeply through a channel and you're using these technologies that we demonstrated, I think that what Dee wanted to show to all of you today was a demonstration of this technology so that anybody could do this. Anyone could regress in this way that I just did. So Candace, you were doing something that was unique that Dolores wanted to point out in your visualizations. So what were you doing there? Did you activate the triangle somehow? Did you breathe a certain way? You did something.
Well, I just fell into it mostly. As a matter of fact, I couldn't, typically I watch the client and I match breath, something that you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I also was thinking about.
You were. Okay, good. That's what, because she did like this and she said she was doing something to activate that level of trance. So that's something that you can do in beyond quantum healing as well. That's something that you can do.
Absolutely. And if you recall, and anyone else who was listening, when we talked about our tandem session, the strobe light, which is a lot like that diamond light, which is a lot like sparkling sunlight on water, that diamond sparkling of sunlight on water, through that triangle too. That's like a boost.
And it looks like
just like the book, just like my alchemy. It looks just like that.
It's like
that. Through this thing.
Yeah. So then you're not coming through the mind is what she said. So what that means is we were one, like practitioner and client were one in that channeling or regression. In this way, channelings and regressions were the same. It's not, she used to say when she first met me, she's calling it channeling. It's so, it's psychic phenomenon stuff. There you go off with your woo-woo stuff. And I'm like, it's not woo-woo, Dolores. It's true. And we would fight, I'm like, this is the same thing that you call regression. And she and I would argue about it. She's like, you're not channeling me. You're just listening to me. And we did that for a few months until she saw me channel him. But it's the same thing. And it's because of those ancient mysteries. So what you did caused me to do that. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. The interesting thing for me was I was so affected by the strength of it. I was losing a little bit of my ability. He was so powerful. I mean, that's kind of how I did this. And I also closed my eyes. I didn't need to have them open. I was in that pulse of you when you were first getting there, and it was really imbuing and flowing through me, but it was very, very strong. And this was other BQH or other practitioners who do QHHT or other type things, they'll know that they often go into an altered state with their clients. But you hold on to a little bit of something so that you don't do what, well, quite frankly, what I just did, which was lose it. lose control of where we were and what we were doing, trying to stay enough on track that you direct the experience a little bit. But it was so powerful, and it felt like just a sweeping wave. There was my heart was beating, my breath was going, and Dolores, I can hear her right now, what she's saying right now too. She's like, expectations. You had expectations about how you wanted this to go, because you had, you want to provide what this experience was that you thought you were going to give to your attendees here. But some of what my sense is, and what I'm hearing her say, I think I mentioned it already, is it was more of a direct thing, the direct touching of the Christ experience, rather than words and questions getting asked and answered. It was more of the direct experience.
Yeah,
that was important. And I can hear her laughing right now too. Ha ha! You didn't think you were going to do it, did you? Didn't think you were going to do it while you were on a live channel. She's really laughing right now. No, I didn't actually. But thank you, Pamela.
I could feel myself not wanting to come back. She's like, come on now. Let's go. So
you also had been doing this just about an hour, not quite.
Yeah, I really want to respect your schedule. I don't know what you have going after this, and
I'm good. I'm so honored about this. I'm so tickled that right as she was coming through so strongly, I subconsciously
muted yourself.
Yeah, this was not easy for me, folks. It was about as easy. I could have just as easily gone, nope, we got to do it the regular way. So thank you for your patience in this experiment today. Let's take what's good, and maybe we can do this again, Pamela. I would so love to.
Yeah.
And for those of you who didn't get your questions answered, maybe next time, or maybe Pamela has something to say about that. There was a lot of questions we didn't get to.
I just think maybe we could just do it again.
I'd like that. I'd like that. I'll feel a little less waylaid. Sort of. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. It was a really fun experience, and I appreciated you bringing her through today and being her voice. And even though neither one of us knew what was going to happen or why or how, I guess if we did understand it, we probably just would have kept not doing it and nothing would have happened. Maybe that's what it's
This
about.
reminds me a little bit of our tandem session too. Do you remember we had it and we couldn't even talk about it for a while?
Yeah, we didn't talk for like 3 weeks. We're like, I don't know what to say.
I don't know what it's about. I feel a little like some of that.
These things keep happening in our connection. We keep having these powerful experiences.
The same thing happened this time. Yeah. So here we are trying to use words way too early for something else. But it wasn't just for us. That I'm pretty sure about. This was like a coming into that, making more of the connections together somehow.
It feels like we're on the brink of a lot of powerful things, Candace, and I just appreciate that. And
I appreciate you so much. And everyone who's here, your energies connecting all of this are so important. Can really feel all of you people out there on board with.
Well, you're an amazing facilitator. I love the work that you are doing. If you don't mind sharing with those of us who are here today, those of you who might not be familiar with her work, can you share what you're doing? What's going on with you now?
Sure. Quantumhealers.com is a directory for all kinds of healers, whether they do regression type work, alchemy type work, anything alternative, spiritual reading type energies, anyone and everyone who's a healer, alternative energy healer, light worker is welcome to join us. If you provide services to others, it's a practitioner forum. That's a directory for that. And then I also teach BQH, and you can find about that at quantumhealers.com too. Having my first live class, assuming, the world allows the world to keep letting it happen, I had to postpone it from April to July. And then we're doing another one in October, so right here in Kansas, but it's an online class otherwise. So thank you, Pamela, for letting me tell everyone about that.
When is that going to be again?
The July 19th is going to be the very first class. And then there's another event in October, and that one, Alba Weinman's going to stop by. So it's going to be interesting October around here.
Yeah. So that's there in Kansas. Mm-hmm. Okay. And can they find those details on your website at beyondquantum.com?
Okay. Quantumhealers.com.
Quantumhealers.com. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, Pamela. Bless you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Don't forget about on Wednesday, we're going to be doing the transmutation class to learn how to transmute toxins. A lot of you are worried about a lot of the toxins in our environment, from chemtrails to vaccines, particularly the ones that might be coming up. I've been doing some study with some of my more scientific geeky A team about how to transmute those energies. So they have a lot of they work in their own way. It's not like Essene Technologies. Like they'll literally give you like very physical advice. And then we have other transmutation techniques as well. So that are just my personal ones. So that class is coming up on Wednesday at 1:00 as well. So you've been asking, and there it is. Yeah. Thanks, Candace. I think I'm going to go cry now.
I know I am. Thank you.
I'll talk to you as soon as you're ready.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.